5 minutes ago, ready to take a shower. I'm fucking beat, man. Shit like that. We want to be great duos. Bob and Doug McKenzie, Bill and Ted, Trump and Pence.
Yeah.
Rodriguez and Tarantino.
Gomer and Pyle.
The Weinstein brothers.
Oh, Jesus. Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I have to rewatch that movie, man. I don't think it's as good as I remember it as a kid, and I've been thinking about that movie lately. And
I honestly don't know that I've ever seen the whole film.
Oh, I have. I used to be able to quote that movie like it was that and Three Ninjas. I could quote in the back of my hands for the longest time. Mr. Kimball. Yeah.
So we've decided this is going to be a much more work and people friendly podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it could be just about it. Like, no, I know we've talked about doing about music or that, but I think we could just do it like we normally talk, man. I think our conversation between you and me would be fine, and if we bring in guests, that'd be cool. And I think obviously I want Tom on, but I think Donko should be a guest on this one. Donko's coming back from L.A. Sunday. Next week? I thought he left. He told me he was leaving last Sunday, which he did, and he was coming back this Sunday, is what he told me.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I asked him if he wanted to be a guest on the podcast, and he said absolutely after next Sunday.
I would rather this podcast focus on music, movies, and video games, just pop culture.
I'm good with that.
You know, we talk about, like Matt already said, if you guys do a Ghostbusters episode, I want in. Because he's like the biggest Ghostbusters fan I know.
Matt's a fan of everything, dude. Matt likes Celtic Pride.
So, I also would like to talk about soundtracks and scores, if we're going to talk about a film.
That's definitely doable. There's plenty of good ones. Crow. There's not just soundtracks, but soundtracks and scores that go so like The Crow is the best example I have. To me, it's like the perfect marriage. The soundtrack is a great list of different bands performing either original pieces or like really good covers. Like I know Nine Inch Nails did the Joy Division cover. And then you've got the score, Graham Revell, which is just some of the most beautiful guitar and piano music I've ever heard in my life. That's like a perfect combination. Then you've got movies like Django Unchained, where I don't know if I'd necessarily listen to the score, but the soundtrack for Django Unchained is pretty fucking flawless.
Yeah. And then back to The Crow, you've got The Cure writing an original song for it, since half of The Crow is based on the writings of The Cure.
Yep. Rollins Band doing Ghost Rider, Helmet, fucking Seven Mary 3,
Milquetoast,
L7, when I'm
Rage Against the
walking,
Machine. Violent Femmes.
Violent Femmes, they did an original piece on there, like a really for them like a really kind of departure from what they normally do. I remember that the song they did was like really depressing and it just did not sound like Violent Femmes at all to me.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that a couple days ago. I actually took screenshots when I work. I listen to a lot of Spotify. I try to if I work during the days, I can't really listen to music. I have to be engaged and talk to people, which is something I really don't like doing. But at night, when I'm by myself at work, I listen to a lot of music. And I was the other day. Let me bring it up. I took screenshots of like all of the shit I was listening to in a day. I tend to do that a lot. I'll listen to the song and it'll catch me the right way. It'll inspire me or make me think of something, and then I'll screenshot that, and then I'll just put it on Instagram with the song overlaid with it. Just I don't know why I do that. It's just a nervous tick. But the other day when I was listening, I started taking a series of screenshots, and it didn't occur to me until I got done that every screenshot of every album I was listening to was music I listened to from sixth grade. I would say from 1993 to 96, 92 to 96, we lived where I'm living now in Michigan. And then our dad moved us like 40 minutes away where they're currently living.
Not to cut you off, I keep seeing your hand. Do you have a tattoo on your hand?
My hand?
Look right here. There's something. Turn your hand.
Oh
right?
yeah, it's pine sap. I literally walked in the door from work. It's my hands are cut. I'm dirty as shit. It's pine sap.
Okay.
I've been dealing with wood and trees and logs all day.
I thought you had like an arrow tattooed on your hand. I was very confused.
No, that's my Bill Gates. That's my vaccination barcode, so they can scan me now.
Man, mine's all the way up here. So your dad moved you 40 minutes away.
And from 92 to 96, we lived in that part of Michigan, like 40 minutes away from where I'm living now. And I was going from 5th grade to 6th grade, and when we moved to our new place, my dad pulled out the mower and said, "Look, you're going to have new responsibilities now that you're in 6th grade. You're going to start mowing the lawn and raking the lawn and shoveling." And I'm like, "Fuck, dude." And if you've never done any of those, like, I'll mow grass till the fucking cows come home. I actually, nowadays, the person I am now, I like being outside mowing grass, especially on a nice day. Raking and shoveling suck. I would rather suck dick than rake and shovel. I'm absolutely serious when I say that. I fucking hate both of those activities. And they bought me a Walkman back when when Sony had a cassette Walkman. It was like one of the first ones, but it was like a Sony cassette Walkman with those metal headband with the foam ears.
Yeah.
And I'd wear a baseball cap over them so it would press the earbuds against my ear so I could hear the music louder because I couldn't hear shit back. We had no good technology back in the 80s and the 90s. But I would listen to music. I figured, fuck it, if I was going to have to do shit like that, I could listen to music. And the other day I was at work listening to a bunch of different songs, taking screenshots for Instagram like an asshole. And when I went back and looked at all the screenshots I had taken for that day, it occurred to me that all the music I was listening to was music I listened to consecutively when I would mow the grass from 6th grade to 9th grade on that shitty Walkman. And the albums, I'm not kidding, dude. Like, every fucking album of these albums I would listen to on rotation when I mowed grass. Metallica, the Black Album. Ice Cube, The Predator. This is 6th grade through 9th grade, mind you. Marilyn Manson, Portrait of an American Family. I fucking listened to that album religiously when I would shovel walkways and mow grass. And I didn't understand any of it. I was in 6th grade. I didn't understand any of the connotations or the lyrics, but I fucking loved every goddamn song on that album. Ugly Kid Joe, America's Least Wanted, because that fucking Cat Stevens cover, Cats in the Cradle, was just so fucking good. And then they also had one other hit song on that album, Everything About I Hate Everything About You, with Pat from Saturday Night Live was in the music video, Julia Sweeney. Adam Sandler, They're All Gonna Laugh at You. For whatever reason, I found that album enjoyable when I mowed grass and did yard work. Aerosmith, Get a Grip. And that's it. That's everyone that I'd screenshotted that day.
I remember Get a Grip.
Get a Grip. Like, it was so weird. Like, I grew up in an era. Like, I got into music in my life. Like, that is, you could argue, that is like a really fucking weird bag of shit to listen to. Ice Cube, Ugly Kid Joe, Metallica, Marilyn Manson, and Adam Sandler.
So, what is the first album you can remember buying?
Buying with my own money? Because I remember the first album my mom bought me, but buying with my own money I also remember. First album I bought with my own money was Gwar, Ragnarok. I bought it on cassette at the Music Tree in Iron Mountain, Michigan, when it used to be in the Midtown Mall.
I can remember being in the 4th grade, and I had bought Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet, and the class had to do a dissection of it.
What does the name mean?
No, when they said, "We'll make it, I swear," what are they talking about? Like, we had to dissect those lyrics in the 4th grade because I brought it in.
We did something similar to that in church group. From 6th grade to 9th grade, my brother and I voluntarily on Sundays loved going to church. Our mom and dad never went to church with us. What
was her name?
Huh? No, there was no girl. I'll tell you exactly what it was. It wasn't church. It was youth group. The youth group before church was a lot of fun. We had really engaging youth pastors, and the group of kids that I went with were I think I've told you before. They were two brothers who were my best friends for a very long time. And they're a lot of the shit that I'm into today, they are the reason. But the reason I went to youth group, my brother and I, was because we got to hang out with those guys. And what we would do is after youth group was over, a lot of us we were supposed to go to the church and watch the sermon. You're fucking sixth grade. No, you don't want to sit through that shit. So we would go back to the pantry, sit down, and we would talk about Star Wars or comedy or Cheech and shit that we were into. We would sit in the pantry. We would raid the cupboards for apple juice and brownies, and we would just sit eating brownies and talking about shit we loved. And I like that youth group in particular because they did something similar where they asked us to bring in an album. They realized at the time, this is when Tipper Gore was going after
the PMRC.
Yep, the parental advisory stickers, and youth ministers. In our area, I don't know. I'm sure it was all over. We're trying to reach kids, trying to understand the music they were listening to, trying to relate to us, trying to understand the world we were living in that they clearly weren't living in. And they asked us, bring in one album that you really enjoy, and we're gonna go through it and we'll talk. And I remember doing that. And my friends, the two brothers. One of them brought in, I think, a Cure album, which totally harmless. I'm sure at that time, though, somebody could have found something wrong with it. Well, they're men wearing lipstick, but the other brother brought in Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral, and I brought in Gwar, The Road Behind EP, because I loved that song, The Road Behind, and I figured I'd play this song. It has a really great acoustic part at the end, and it's a beautiful. I think that song is really well made. For Gwar, it's a fucking ballad, one of the only ballads they've ever recorded, and I never paid much attention to the lyrics, never gave a shit. I just dug the music, and when I brought that in, they asked me why I brought it in. I said, I don't know, I really like the way it sounds. I like the guitar, I like the drums, I like the piano. Okay, let's go through the lyrics, and I got to bring up the lyrics now. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right, because the lyrics in that song are not something you bring to a fucking youth group on Sunday morning, man. But the music does not reflect it, because it's The Road Behind it really does, when you listen to it, the music sounds like a love ballad. It sounds like something you would hear, a ballad of that time era. But the lyrics, the song opens up, well, I'm traveling down the road and I'm carrying that heavy load. I walk around in a stupor, sleazy, I can't do the show. Now, you could say, why does he say sleazy? But at the time, I didn't understand it, that it was part of the mythos. That was their manager. The character of their manager was Sleazy P. Martini. Hanging out backstage, I can't do the show. Hanging out backstage, I'm in a homicidal rage. I signed $1 million contract. I puked on every page. Slaughtered half the crew because they ate the deli tray. Oh, baby, hey. Said I'd do the show, but I canceled anyway. You were roadkill, baby, till I scraped you in my arms. Just another waddle flapping on the old turkey farm.
My knowledge of Gwar is very limited.
Okay, I can fill you in.
I knew them from Empire Records, obviously, and a couple MTV songs, and I remember, like I said, meeting them, going backstage, going on the tour bus, playing with their props, playing chess with them on the tour bus. And I didn't even stay for the show. I left because it was impossible to shoot, dude.
Yeah, but you don't shoot a show. I mean, you can shoot a show like that, but you don't stay to shoot a show. That's what I was there for. Oh. Well, I mean, you could have shot it, but you'd have to shoot it from the back or the sides, and even then.
Yeah, dude, I came back and there was over a foot deep of fake blood down in that pit. And I was like, yeah, no. Yeah. Yep.
That's where I saw him.
When I was backstage, I counted the canisters of CO2 to pump the blood. There were 27 CO2 canisters back there. And they had the Pope's head and all that. Was that
the show where they brought Gorgor out on stage?
I don't know, man. Like I said, I left.
Giant Oh, you weren't there. Okay.
Yeah.
I was in a Misfits Crimson Ghost shirt. I still have the photo somewhere. And it's a picture of me just like I just won the lottery or I just had sex for the first time. And I'm just covered in blood, fake blood stripping down me, and I just look happier to pig and shit. I want to see Gwar now that Dave has passed on and they're still doing it with the original bassist. I want to see them live because, we've talked about this on the other podcast, but you see a band, like a lead singer or a frontman die, and then the band try to continue on. And 9 times out of 10, you scratch your head like, why? What's the point? Sublime with Rome is a good example. I know John will fight for Alice in Chains. I never really gave a shit about stuff like that, and but not enough to actually pay attention. But Gwar is one of those bands where they've literally spent 30, 40 years. No, they came out in 78. Yeah, I think 78, 79. So 40 some years building a mythos, building characters and comic books and a whole universe that's for a select group of fans. And I remember when Dave died, I'm like, oh my God, like what the fuck's going to happen? He did say it. He's like, this is something that can go on forever. He's like, we don't need to be, he's like, we could die and people could easily put these suits on and continue on. And that's what they did. They just didn't do it with that character. Like, I don't know how, you don't know a lot about him, you said, but you were talking about Viking funerals. Dave Brockie, I think it's, I'd have to look it up. I don't want to, I can't remember how long he's been dead now.
It's been about 6-7 years, I'd say.
I was going to say about 7 or 8. Yeah, he died in 2014, March 23rd, 2014. Buried on April Fool's Day. I fucking love him. And then there was a funeral that they did at the Gwarbecue.
For Odorous. And Gwarbecue, for those who don't know, is Gwar's yearly fan gathering where they have a giant barbecue. It's like a weekend, like the Gathering of the Juggalos almost, but for Gwar fans. And it is like, if you like fucking Ren Fair, if you like Viking shit, you will not find a cooler place to go than a fucking Gwarbecue, man. Because Gwar, that's what it is. It's space Vikings, dude. And Odorous's funeral, when Dave died, they held at Gwarbecue, and they had the entire costume set up on a fucking beautifully built raft of fucking logs and twigs and flowers and all kinds of beautiful shit covering them. And they pushed. You can watch it on YouTube. There's a produced funeral for it, a fully produced film where they send him off out into the lake, and everybody's just around in their costumes, and there's fans, and everybody's just crying, and they fucking shoot arrows and light that motherfucker on fire. It is one of the coolest fucking things you've ever seen, man. And then that happens, and then a few years, people are like, "What the hell's gonna happen?" And then boom, Gwar. It's like Gwar never left. Like there's a new. I forget the new frontman's name, the character's name, but like he's a dude with like a giant fucking cow udder, like a big fucking milk udder, and a big fucking horned head and all that. And it's the original bass player who used to be Beefcake the Mighty. That character, it's the original guy, and fucking sounds amazing. He doesn't sound like Dave, but he sounds like his own thing, and the music is still fucking. To me, the music's still fun, and it's never been a band you'd listen to on the radio or watch on MTV. It's a very limited audience, but they're fucking ravenous, and I love Gwar. I've always loved Gwar. Yeah, I mean, there's certain fan bases that really make a band, and the bands know their fan base well. I'll use Coheed as a good example. They play to their fan base. They don't really.
I do still like Coheed. I don't hate Coheed and Cambria. Jesus Christ, I've got them tattooed on my fucking body for life, for fuck's sake.
In multiple places.
That said, I don't love them the way I used to love them. Their music has definitely become an acquired taste in their later years, but what I see when I look at Coheed now is I see a much better sounding version, a much more modern version, minus the makeup of Kiss. Like it.
I don't see that at all. What I see is 4 guys who've grown up and matured, and are just still writing the same type of music with a completely different vibe to it.
And I'm not talking about the music. I should have prefaced that. I should have said that. To me, the music never really changed. The music's improved. The music's definitely gotten harder and louder, and there's certain albums that I just don't think sound good at all. One particular album.
Let me guess. You're the Black Rainbow?
That was the not the first, but the last time I ever pre-ordered anything. I was so crestfallen. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the book. Like, the book excited me for Peter David alone.
The book was great.
For Peter David alone, that was
right.
My excitement. But the packaging, what I paid for, like, I was very disappointed with that. And I think it was one of the moments in my life where it hit me like, I don't have to buy every fan-made thing. I don't need to own Coheed and Cambria figures. It'd be cool, but what am I going to do with them? I don't play with the toys that I do have. I keep them in plastic.
I'm a figure collector, and I didn't get them.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
that's what I say when I refer to them as Kiss. Is it seems like they're producing all kinds of shit that doesn't need to be, like the music is all they need to focus on. As far that's why I say I'd be curious to see whose idea it was. If it was managed in PR.
That's the thing, though, and you've got to understand. You've got a fan base where I'd say a good 60% of that fan base will literally buy anything they release, whether they need to or not. They will, because they're completionists. And I'm not one of those people. I own a lot of Coheed stuff. I have a lot of collector's editions of albums, like that I pre-ordered. I'm not a vinyl collector, so I don't have every variant of every vinyl ever made. That's not who I am.
I don't know why the fuck you would need it, though.
But there are people, the same reason that you go out of your way to get all the achievements or all the trophies on a game. It's kind of the same personality type.
I could concede to that on some level, but I can justify why I do it. For me, it's a constant. I can't shut my fucking brain off. I get 4 hours of sleep a day if I'm lucky. When I do shit like that, it really feels like I'm exercising this. That's really the reason why I became a trophy. Why I got so into it. When I look at people completionists for variant vinyl records, like just the idea. Not Coheed. This could be anything, because I know they do it for a lot of different people. A lot of people do variant vinyl.
Pretty much every band at this point. It's like variant comic book covers.
And to me, I fucking hated variant comic book covers too, because variant comic covers were what they were. They were a fucking scam. To me, that's just another.
And they still are.
And that's how I look at variant vinyl. If you're a completionist, if you want to call yourself a completionist because you have to have every final piece of this vinyl, okay, fine. Call yourself a completionist. What you really are is autistic or borderline obsessive compulsive disorder. That's what you are, because the differences in vinyl color does not affect the sound of the music. I don't need to buy a piece of vinyl to hear an album.
That's not how it is for some people, though. It's just about, this is my collection. This is, So, like yesterday, I had a friend riding with me, and we were talking about music in my car, and she can't handle high notes. And I said, well, get ready, because, You
just got in the wrong fucking car.
Yeah, you really got in the wrong fucking car. And so she's sitting there with her ears plugged in, and she's suggesting different songs. And we went through like a gamut of different musical tastes, and so from R&B to heavy metal to prog to country to you name it, just a little bit of everything.
Prog is a country. Funny little pun.
Different prog. So I said okay. So I played Take a Look at Me Now. No, it was In the Air Tonight.
Both good songs. Not my favorite Phil Collins, but both good songs.
No. And we both agreed on that. It's not my favorite Phil Collins either, but that reverb on his voice and how high it gets. And she's like, why is it not distorting? I'm like, because it's not going to distort. And so she had to listen the entire way like this. And then right before it gets to the drum fill, she uncovers her head and she's like, just air drumming across my car. And then she went back to...
I love that album. I love No Jackets Required. I really unapologetically love that album.
It's a great album.
One of the greatest, to me, my be-all, end-all Phil Collins song. The reason it's my favorite Phil Collins song, it isn't even Phil Collins or the song itself. I mean, it's a great fucking song, but where I saw it and how I discovered that song. I mean, I'd heard that song before, but it never registered to me. You hear shit your entire life or see shit your entire life, but it doesn't register to you until one day you're just thinking about it and you're like, holy shit, I've been going all... I remember that when I figured out, like, I don't know how to... I don't have a good example to use to describe it, but just... After like 20 years and you discover what the definition of one word is and you realize you've been using the word, like that kind of feeling where just everything clicks and it's like opening up a treasure chest. And hearing that album, as long as I've been hearing it, it never registered to me how good Take Me Home was as a song until I saw it in Mr. Robot. I don't know if you've ever watched Mr. Robot. 4 seasons. I have them. I have them all on Blu-ray. One of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life. It's a show that I identify with on multiple levels. But if we're talking about music right now and sound, you want to talk about soundtracks and scores? I'm trying to think what Mr. Robot is streaming on, because I honestly believe once you start watching that show.
I have it. I mean, it's on Hulu.
Oh, it's on Hulu?
Hulu or HBO. I have it on one of them.
It's got to be on Hulu. It's a USA show. There's no way it'd be on HBO, I don't think. Give the first episode a chance. The first season is phenomenal. And I know you'll fucking love the first season, especially the way that show opens up. The first 15 minutes, how that show opens, you will fall in love with Rami Malek right off. Based on what he does to the person he's talking to, you of all people will fall in love. That 15-minute opening of the first episode will endear you to that entire show, knowing you like I know you. Now, that show I got into because I was a junkie at the time, and that first season, you're watching a junkie. That's his character. His character is a junkie hacker, but you don't.
Don't.
I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it.
I'm going to jump in.
Okay.
So, better version of Home, that the original version or the Bone Thugs version?
The original version. I love the Bone. I love that. I can't believe I never heard that until you guys sent that to me. But
you'd never heard that?
I'd never heard the Bone Thugs version of it until John sent it in the group text. I thought you read that because I wrote. John just like,
no, I didn't see that.
John wrote, "Did I just get you in?" I said, "This song is fucking amazing." And John wrote, "Did I just get you into the Bone Thugs and Harmony Phil Collins sample song?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've never heard this song." He's like, "Oh, dude," and I'm like,
"Did you see the video?"
Yeah, I went back, dude. I could put that album on my Spotify list. I went back and fucking listened.
It's funny to me that the toughest looking motherfucker is the old white guy in the fucking crew neck. Like, he looks hard as fuck in that video, just standing there like.
Song is so fucking good, dude. I cannot believe it. But that's what I'm talking about. You live your entire life hearing something and it doesn't register. And the reason I brought up, I go on tangents. I know I do that. But the reason I brought up Mr. Robot, because we were talking about music and scores and soundtracks. The reason I love that song is because I think it's season 2, episode set. I used to know it by hand. Could be season 1. It's been a while. I might be wrong. But there's a scene in the show where a group of people are trying to make corporations pay. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'll just say it's during a time when this came out during a time when Occupy Wall Street was a thing, if that helps for the frame of reference and the tone of the show. There's a really well-produced shot scene. It's an ending of an episode that I'm not going to give away completely, but Take Me Home starts to play softly in the background to the point where you really don't hear it. You don't notice it until you see what's going on, and then the song starts to rise in audio. The levels start to come up, and you can hear it. And as the scene forms, and the group of people that come into the picture surround it, and that, like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about. I'm gonna watch that tonight. I'm gonna rewatch that episode tonight. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this shit because it's just so powerful how that song plays into that fucking scene. And the reason it's not just the reason I bring it up because we're talking about Phil Collins, but that show in particular, we're talking about soundtracks and scores. All 4 seasons of Mr. Robot introduced me to so much music, so many different things that I probably never would have heard of. The other day, we were doing our Spotify list, and I said Lupe Fiasco, Food and Liquor. I never would have known who the fuck Lupe Fiasco was had I not heard his fucking song on the first episode of episode 2 in Mr. Robot. They use a song with Jill Scott as the intro to the whole episode, and it fucking blew. I stopped. I remember watching that episode live, and I paused it during the commercial, and I looked up episodes. There's websites where you could type in the TV show, and it'll give you like a soundtrack based on episode. And I typed in that song was so fucking good, and Mr. Robot's a show like that where there's so many like Breaking Bad, where the people who are making the show have a reverence and a love for the same kind of shit we do, where it's not just one type of music, it's all genres. And I think that was the coolest thing about that show. It's also the coolest thing about getting older and realizing, like, you don't have, like, when I was a kid, I thought punk, when I first moved to Fort Myers, 29 Steps was still formed, and the vibe that I got was, I want to fit in with these guys. These guys I think are cool. So I'm gonna love everything they love, and that's really what my mentality was for a very long time. And don't get me wrong, I fucking love the Misfits. I love Operation Ivy. I love all of that music still today that they got me into. But at that time, not just them, myself included, and everybody I knew, our views were myopic. That we had tunnel vision. I think I've had tunnel vision up until I think I turned 40, and the tunnel vision seemed to go away. Tunnel vision in the sense that, like, I would only listen to ska or punk rock. Like, no, fuck everything else. This is what you need to listen to. This is the fucking truth. And then it was, I remember listening to, like, Johnny Cash did the American recordings with Rick Rubin. And I remember that first one came out, and he did the cover of Rusted Chain. And I remember hearing it, I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, this is really good. Like, I've been fucking listening to one type of music my entire life. Like, I can span it out. Now, as an adult, as a 41-year-old man, some of my favorite music to listen to is soul music, R&B, Motown. Like, I fucking love that shit. And
Dude, I am all over the place musically. My passengers are always kind of like, I'll pick them up listening to one thing, and then having me drive you around musically is like having a schizophrenic at the controls. It'll go from some hardcore rap to Taylor Swift to a string quartet to, whatever I'm feeling at that exact second. I mean, if I want to change my mood up, I can easily change my mood up by switching to a certain type of music. And it's always been that way for me. Sometimes I play a lot of instrumental stuff because I don't have to worry about it offending people. Other times I'll pick up people playing Fuck the Police. I just don't really care that much. So, and I ask passengers, hey, what do you want to hear? And they're always shocked. Because they're like, no, nobody ever asks us what we want to hear or even really talks to us. I'm like, well,
that's the problem.
What do you want to hear? Yeah, what do you want to hear? Let me hear it. So, I'm sick of Cardi B at this point, I can say that. But
I've never given Cardi B a chance. I never put myself in that position. I'll be honest with you, and has nothing to do with being a pro-female or pro-slut, whatever her fucking message is. I just don't like the music. I remember watching Cardi B on World Star Hip Hop when she was still a stripper back in the early 2000s with jacked up teeth.
What killed it for me, literally, like I said on the other podcast, one night, 3 girls wanted to listen to it on repeat on a 30-minute drive. And I was like, I can't fucking do it anymore. 30 minutes of that one song, and drunk, I'm going to say teenagers because I don't think they were of age. And I was just like, this is awful. This is fucking awful. I'm an older white guy.
You're an old... 2 fucking years. Go suck a dick.
4 years. 3 years. I'm about to be 44, bitch.
Oh, God, Jesus Christ. Okay, well, I hope you die before me so I don't have to argue with you anymore. Anyway, I think...
Do you know how long the playlist is at my funeral? Like, I have it made. You motherfuckers are going to suffer. At my playlist may outlive you, because it's not a short playlist.
Mine is.
Not mine.
Because I love and respect my friend's time.
No, fuck that. If I'm dying, you guys are going to sit there with me for a while.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at John, I'm going to look at Paul, and I'm going to be like, as the resident atheist here, he ain't looking down from shit. Fuck him. Let's go after 5 songs.
Yeah. You're like, man, why are each song 63 minutes long? What is this?
Oh, what are you doing? All the Tool albums for Matthew Lawrence?
No. Like, you do know there are Buckethead albums. There's 5 albums called Monolith where each disc is one song that's 72 minutes long.
Of course they are. Monolith. They're named Monolith. Why wouldn't they be?
Now, I wouldn't do that to you guys, but it's hilarious.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's like it's as hilarious as John Mulaney going into the Salt and Pepper Diner in Chicago and putting What's New Pussycat on the jukebox 15 times in a row and watching everybody lose their mind after the 5th time.
That was great.
The waitress finally came out and unplugged the jukebox and everybody cheered.
I literally, I want to have a live band play a certain song at my funeral.
Please tell me it's the Dan Band doing a cover of I Need You More. I fucking need you more than ever. I fucking need you.
It's not, but that would be good.
Here's my stoner theory that I've always enjoyed to myself. When it comes to John Cusack and the character of Rob in High Fidelity, I like to think that we are all living in a multiverse. And somewhere we got to see John Cusack in Say Anything and The Sure Thing, and then we got to see him go to, we saw him like as like a teenager in those movies. In that
Then we saw him in 2012.
I was gonna say One Crazy Summer. Like you got to see the college version of the guy that.
Dude, I loved One Crazy Summer.
Great fucking movie. But like to me, we're talking about he plays the same
fucking
character.
Godzilla scene. Oh my god!
And Better Off Dead. And
I saw that in the theater.
yeah, I love that movie. I love that fuck. I watched that not long
How
ago.
did I see that
it's
in
on,
the theater?
You're old. It's
Jesus
on
Christ.
something streaming.
Man, motherfucker, I saw RoboCop in the theater when I was 10.
I would have loved to have seen RoboCop.
My mother took me to see RoboCop, and she was mortified when they're blowing his arms and legs off.
Such a great movie, dude.
Mortified. We were at was it South Point Cinema? It used to be.
Yes, over by Jugs.
Yep, way back in the day when that was a place, and
I
watched
remember
it
going
there.
$5 theater.
And my not back then. I mean, it was like the main theater. This was before Bell Tower.
Oh wow!
Because we saw that there, and I saw Transformers the movie there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, those are some of my earliest memories of the theater.
I'm trying to think. I've only seen one movie at South Point, and then they tore it down after I saw it. And I'm trying.
I saw The Crow like 17 times at South Point.
It's a good. I saw that at the Brahma.
I was still in high school.
I'm trying to think. One of the only significant movies from our generation that I got to see in the theater that I can claim fame. Two of them I can claim fame to with pretty cool stories. Well, one of them's a cool story, but Terminator 2 I got to see in the theater with my Uncle Paul, my mom, and my brother. That was maybe one of the coolest experiences. The second coolest experience.
Opening day.
Yep, it was opening day for us. Oh no, opening weekend. We went on Saturday.
We skipped school.
Knee hurts.
We skipped school to go see it.
And that's my second story. My second story is I remember being in 9th grade, and my dad, we had just moved to where I was talking about, 40 minutes away or whatever, and my dad one morning was getting ready for school, and he says, what do you think about taking a sick day today? And I said, how about fucking yeah? Like, what a dumb fucking question to ask.
Of course.
So he called me in sick. He called himself in sick, and didn't tell my mom or my brother. My brother got on the bus, went to school. My mom went to work. My dad drove me 2 hours. This is one of the coolest. There's a couple cool stories that I have with my dad. Got in a car, drove 2.5 hours to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and took me to go see Pulp Fiction on opening weekend. And I said, why? I remember when we got there, he says, we're going to see Pulp Fiction. He says, you can't tell your mom. This is a rated R movie. And I said, okay. I said, why are we seeing Pulp Fiction? It didn't click to me because that's not my dad. And my dad said, I saw the trailer for this movie, and it's got John Travolta. And my dad, that's what it was. My dad's a John Travolta fan, loved Grease, loved Welcome Back, Kotter. He says, there's this new movie out, and he says, it's called Pulp Fiction. And he says, it's supposed to revitalize John Travolta's career. It's the first thing he's done of significance in years. He says, I got to see it. And I remember walking out of that movie thinking it was the coolest thing I'd seen, but didn't understand a fucking word about it. Not until 15 years down the road when I'd rewatch it, and that's when everything kind of clicked for me. But yeah, he took me to that. He took me to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the theater, and that was the other cool time.
So, like a story with my mom. So, to bring it full circle, 25 years later, they released the Michael Bay Transformer movie, and I took my mom to go see Transformers.
You were living with me at the time.
Yep, as not good as it was.
I enjoyed that movie. I'm sorry.
The first one's okay. I didn't even finish seeing, I think there was 4.
I've never seen any of the other ones past the first one.
I saw the first one and the second one. I think I left. I took her to the first 3, I think, and I think I left at the end of the third one because my anxiety was too bad. But I watched Bumblebee here at the house, and it was so much better than any of the other movies.
I heard that. I've heard that.
It's so much better than any of the other movies. You know why? Because Michael Bay didn't do it. This has been Bob and Doug, and we have tried to save you from boredom.
Can't even save ourselves.
Hopefully that will work. And if it did, let us know.
I'll have my glasses on next time. I didn't even notice until I looked up, and I'm like, holy shit, I look weird without glasses on. I look like I have no eyebrows. I'm Bob.
I'm Doug, and we're here to save you from boredom.
All right, I'm gonna go be.
But I don't think you're Bob though.
Okay, you go first.
I'm Bob.
I'm Doug, and we are here to pump you up.
You up. All right, man. Have a good one.
Have a good night, brother.